Welcome to another episode of Closing Staff Podcast. This is your host, Tradehold, and we also have Cash Wrap.
Cash Wrap's here.
Unfortunately, Distro couldn't join us today. He had a minor incident, but hopefully next time, nothing too serious, thankfully. We do have a guest today, though, our former boss. We're going to call him LevelUp.
Yeah, that's LevelUp with us today.
Hey, I am LevelUp. Gotta remember that my name is LevelUp.
All right. Well, we don't really have an actual topic today because we just kind of want to chat with the LevelUp about him being the store leader, having started up a brand new store back during that time.
Yeah. LevelUp has lots of experience, lots of tenure. From the workman side of GameStop in many different capacities, starting stores, maintaining stores, closing stores, many years under LevelUp's belt.
Fixing stores.
Fixing stores. Fixing stores, or trying to fix stores, and then being okay with the results,
So we've got a great perspective on the show today, and to be honest, this is a guest I think we've been looking forward to for quite some time.
I know we've talked about it in a few episodes.
Yeah, we've mentioned it.
We've mentioned him. We didn't have a name for him at the time.
No, we didn't. We didn't have a name for him, but he's been in previous episodes as a mentioned part of our cameo without being here. And so we finally caught the magic elusive fish, as it were, and we've captured our very own LevelUp. So it's gonna be a fun episode.
Yeah, hopefully.
Hopefully,
because we're kind of going in unprepared here. It's like all right, we're just asking whatever. But I guess as a starting point, there was some recent news regarding GameStop trying new concepts. I think. Did you read up on any of that, LevelUp?
Yeah. Them talking, they hired some firm to reestablish and redesign their store experience and trying to attract interest besides like what they've been doing for years and years and years. I caught a little bit of that. I still follow the GameStop story. I still shop at GameStop stores. But it's interesting. A lot of the ideas that they're floating around. Stuff that I think we were thinking about when we were running and opening stores and running stores as a team.
That's interesting. Huh?
We've talked about it a few times before too, in passing, that there were a lot of things that GameStop would try to change around. Like, well, we were doing that, and then I remember when I got hired, it's like, oh, that's the reason why I was like attracted to this specific store was because they were going along with this concept of not really pushing.
Right.
And that's like 2 months after I was hired, went back right into it.
And then it reverted to the GameStop everyone knows and loves. So, it's pretty interesting how things kind of come full circle, huh? I think that's probably going to be the theme of today's episode is how things come full circle.
Yeah, the circle of life, right?
Yep.
Circle of life.
Circle of life is always a very funny point of contention amongst those who remember operating under the circle of life principles. If those of you who are listening still have that little stupid business card in your wallet, that's what we're referring to. For anyone who doesn't, circle of life what's the best way to...
It's like a model of business that GameStop adopted to keep, to drive sales and to grow inventory and to grow market share. I guess I would say.
Yeah.
Right, so you have trade in there, you'd have like product sales, reservations. I think customer service was at the center or something like that.
New games.
Yeah, used games was in there.
Used games.
Yeah, trades and like pre-owned. At the center of the whole circle of life was like customer service, which I think that's like what set our store apart at the time. That's what we really focused on philosophically, I think.
Yeah.
Well, let's say when you were, because they had you opening a new store, like you were working on it before the location actually opened, right?
Yeah.
Did you have like a personal idealism for how you wanted your store to be run, or how the type of people you would hire, things like that?
Oh yeah. I think I had a philosophy about people just from my life that I kind of translated into management. I think like you can teach somebody how to be a great salesman. You could teach somebody about games, right? Like I would hire people that didn't know anything about games. You could teach them that. You could teach them how to use a cash register. You could teach them how to process a trade and like a product trade in. What you can't really teach somebody is about integrity, about character, about personality, right? So like when I went to hire, like the key things I would always look for is I would look for a certain type of integrity about the people I was hiring. Like when no one's looking, are they going to do the right thing? And then I also looked for a specific personality, like someone who was kind, who was friendly, who thought more about customers than just like, you're coming in to buy something. It's like, no, I want to be really kind to you. I want to be good to you. And I think that like spreads into every avenue of your store. That whole circle of life thing, like when they introduced that in when I was there, like, did I really focus on that when I was managing you guys in the store? Like, no. I would look at the numbers, but would I a little bit.
It was only, if the business required it, but for the most part, I remember just trusting the staff to have these principles already,
Yeah.
And I don't know if it was that same experience for others out there. I could imagine this was a hammered home set of principles for a lot of other stores out there.
Yeah, there are some other stores and other managers I've worked alongside, and very numbers driven, very sales driven, very competitively driven. And when I came in to the company, I got that job to get me through college. So, the end all be all of being successful in doing that, we had those accolades and we run some awards, but that wasn't my goal. I wanted to be good at the job while I was there, and I wanted my staff to be good at the job. But I had other aspirations to chase after. So for me, another philosophy I had when I was managing a store, it's you're only as good as your weakest employee. So I wanted to train every person that worked under me to be able to do my job, or to be able to do the person's job above them. So when that time came, say you had to leave, one of you guys had to leave, then the next person could just step up. So, but I can say that that's not how every other manager, kind of approached the work. Not just at GameStop, but I would say now that I'm out there doing other things, and you guys could probably attest to that too, just in professional life, not every manager understands that you're better when your team's better.
Right. There's a sense of, having an all-star team, and those who aren't on that all-star team kind of get left behind. And I think it was a different experience working in an environment where that wasn't the case. And you can see the tangible growth of the staff. Working under this separate set of principles, which was pretty cool. Pretty cool to watch.
Yeah, and I think
it's okay. Well,
you could speak to this. Crap.
Yes.
Code names. I think you could speak to this though, right? I think what matters most when it comes to GameStop, or I would say any storefront, is when people walk in and they can tell that you're not poaching on them for sales. It's disarming. Right, it's disarming, and it makes it easier to be genuine, not just for the customer, but for the person working. So then you're just having a basic conversation, and then that's when you introduce all the sales stuff that I had to teach everyone, planting the seeds and all that. You kind of lead them to the water, and then they feel like it's their own idea, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I totally want to reserve 20 things." It's nah, you didn't walk in thinking that. I kind of talked you into it, but. It makes it more organic, and it makes it you feel better about it at the end of the day. I walked away from my career at GameStop knowing that some people talk really badly about GameStop. I look at it I help people find what they wanted. Can every other GameStop employee or manager say that? I don't know.
I mean, you say you still shop at GameStop, right?
Oh yeah.
How do you compare the employees you meet, the environment of maybe other shoppers, to your own personal store when you were managing one?
Oh man. I mean, you guys have talked about it in your past episodes. The bar's the bar's set pretty high when you come from a location and you worked with a team who really put people first, right? Yes, we had all of our daily tasks to get to, et cetera, but at the end of the day, when somebody walked in, it was all of our jobs to just, what do you need? You don't need anything. You need a friend. Let's chat about games then.
Yeah.
You don't need a friend. You need to buy something. Let's talk about that. You need advice about games, what gifts you should get, and you're not going to buy it today. Let's talk about that, right?
Yeah.
I think coming from a location and working with a team, and not just our team, but even numerous teams through my 11 years I worked with the company, where that was the center focus, and then walking into stores now where like they treat me as if I'm a nuisance when I walk in. Like I'm taking up their time.
Yeah.
When I know exactly what they're dealing with. Like I
Yeah.
see them packing up like a store transfer of product, or I could see them like doing price changes.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
I know what you're doing.
Yeah.
And I know how long it takes. So I'm not taking that away. But
That's funny.
but you know, sometimes it can be disappointing. But then I understand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, like the landscape in retail has changed a lot. So it makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
But at the same time, it seems like they're not thinking of the big picture, right? Because they might be thinking, oh, you're coming in and you're taking up my time, and it's like I'm just working here. I want to be out here, but you're not thinking that the store needs that money, because or just should be, should appreciate anyone walking in at all,
Yeah.
because you can just suddenly lose your job if the store shuts down.
Yeah,
Right.
and I would say that's the tone that I think is set by management
Mm-hmm.
or whoever's in charge. Not just like the manager, but just the management team, like
Yeah.
whoever's the senior game advisor or lead game advisor, if that was the thing at the time, depending on what time you were working there.
Yeah.
The assistant, I think, I'm gonna look up names. Cash Wrap and I
Cash Wrap and
did
LevelUp.
a really great job. I think when we were, working together to set a tone for our staff, like it's people first.
Mm-hmm.
It
always
it's people
was.
first. Like,
Yeah.
and I would in secret, like I would never tell you, but like like my district manager at the time would come in, and man, it's so hard just not to flub with names. He would come in and he would like kind of read me on stuff, and I would just not tell the staff about it because I'm like, you know what, like I'm doing what I know is important for the store. People will get taken care of. They'll come back, and they did.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, there was a lot of that. I think there was a lot of that was required to get your philosophy, done in your store. I think that was probably a little bit of the sacrifice you had to make to run the store that way. Is there's probably going to be times where what you're doing for the store's benefit and what the DM thinks you should be doing, they're going to come to a head, and you're probably going to take the brunt of that. So,
yeah, and I leveraged my tenure. I was like, yo, I've been here almost like 10 years. I've been here 10 years. I've been here, blah, blah, blah. I've opened 2 stores. I've been at the top. I've been at the bottom. I've been in between, I've been at every position possible.
Yeah.
Seasonal all the way up to like a store manager, right? Like, so you leverage that a little bit. And that was, I think, like part of the GameStop politics, right? You build your clout, so to say, and you wield that.
Yeah,
I don't
and
know if
then
that's,
you wield it.
Yeah, and you wield it, and you let, like, my district manager, sometimes he'd question me on things. Like, oh, you're not getting your, I don't know, you're not selling as much used, you're not doing this, you're not doing that. And I'm like, you know what, like, the business takes care of itself. You just got to trust the process. And,
Right. Yeah.
And it did. I felt like it did, at least.
Yeah, it did.
I was gonna say I know another store manager that very much share your philosophy, because he was very much the same in that district would come in like, okay, get rid of this and do it this way, and he would just be like, no. he would just tell them no.
Yeah.
And they would be like, what? And he would just explain like, well, when we do it this way, we keep the sales. People are happy, so we're going to continue doing this. And then they can't say anything because the numbers show.
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, but then you're playing a game when you're doing that.
Yeah.
Like you're playing. There's only so many times that you kind of play that hand.
Yeah.
It's like Yu-Gi-Oh trap cards. You know what I mean? Like you can't keep using your trap card.
Yeah.
It
There's
becomes
some hills
ineffective at some point.
There's some hills you decide to take a stand on, and there's others that you kind of
like choose your battles,
work
right?
with.
But I mean, there's also a way of handling it too, right? You can't just be like blunt about it all the time. But
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think you guys talked about it in one of the other episodes. Like I think it was the episode about like interstore relationships or whatever.
Yeah.
Right. That's why I would sign up to do every single other manager's inventory if they ask me.
Yeah,
Why?
you would. You really would.
Because I'm getting that clout, man. Because like when I need a favor,
Yeah.
or if I have something I don't want to do,
Mhm.
I need someone to back me up. And
Yeah.
I was there for you every single time.
Yeah.
I was there till
Yeah.
2 or 3 in the morning scanning all of your little, I don't know, Xbox 360 controllers there in the back,
That
right?
was Level Up for you.
Yeah.
Right?
That was Level Up's MO. Is he was the go-to person.
Call for everything. Hey, you guys have someone who could cover our store? We're sick. And we'd send you, or we'd send somebody. Like, oh
Send
man.
someone on the team to go.
I felt like that carried on after you were gone. Was just because
Yeah.
a lot of our store got called on a lot for just like for
Yeah,
getting like
it set the-
coverage.
it
Yeah,
But that's
the bar.
good.
yeah,
That
it is
means
good.
that you're known for being dependable, right?
Yeah.
Like some stores don't get those calls.
Mhm.
Double-edged sword,
Yeah.
like any industry, right? Not just
Yeah.
even.
Exactly.
Work-
I mean,
GameStop,
considering the fact that I was there for about a year, and I got called into like 6 different stores.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
and but
Yeah, you
at
were
the
all
same
over the
time,
place.
when I was still hired, it was during the season. I was in the season. No, I was on
Oh.
probation because they want to see. They want to hire me on as I'm pretty much sure I mentioned it several times ASL, and I'm like no. But and then I was pushing for someone else
Mm.
to get that promotion, and the district didn't want it.
That's
and
right.
So it was. We were both on probation. It's like, all right, let's see who does well and
Politics.
gets yeah. And I'm just like,
Deep
I don't
politics.
want it, so I don't care.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that was just. But I remember also getting a lot of seasonals, or during the season, we're just like, I can't come in. I need cover, and I was always the person who ended up coming in.
Yeah.
Especially step stool. That's what we're gonna call him, step stool. Oh man, I covered a lot of that guy's shift.
Yeah. Yeah. There were those who needed a little more accommodation than others, for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Level Up. You've mentioned it a couple times now. 11 years, I think, by the time you exited.
2004 to 2015.
That is
Yeah.
quite some time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Most of I got out of high school like 2003. So,
Wait, are you as old as me?
yeah, 34.
I'm 34 in a few months. Yeah.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah,
All right.
So most of my adult life was,
Was
GameStop.
defined by the game.
Yeah, defined
The
by
game.
my career in GameStop, yeah.
And I think we've talked about it in a previous episode, but one of the ideas that I was always drawn to when I left GameStop was how much you look back and you can pinpoint things that you've learned from that work that you now employ currently. And it's like, obviously it's a retail job, it's a sales job, so there's that aspect as well. But, what are some of the things that you can kind of look back and say, damn, if it wasn't for me kind of coming up through this way, like, I don't know where I would have learned these tenets or these business practices or whatever it might be. Because I think there's a lot of employees who may be listening to this who, could be stuck in that mode where it's like, shoot, what am I doing other than just what this place is having me do? Whereas, painting it in the light of, well, I'm taking skills and I'm learning things that could, possibly parlay into something bigger and better.
Yeah, I think you guys have touched on this in prior episodes, but I would say, I think, like, speaking of folks who maybe currently or have worked at GameStop, I think a big part of it does depend on like who you work with, right? Because your experience is shaped by not just like the people in your store, but like the district personalities, like the district manager, regional, maybe other store managers in the area, depending if they're close by or not. Like I was shaped by competitively by a lot of my peers, so I learned to understand like placement at a job, and like where you stand and how you look and how that plays into like your job. So I learned like about the politics of any job, right? So at my current job now where I work, I'm very mindful of like the way I look to my coworkers and the way I look to the people that work above me. Does every employee that works at GameStop really learn that lesson? No, I could tell you a lot of employees that I've had that didn't really learn that lesson. But the number one, I think the key thing that a lot of folks could gain, and I did, was just the ability to talk to like so many different types of people. I mean, this is maybe just not just for GameStop, but just for almost any retail job. But again, it's just shaped by your management and how they, if they push you to go out of that box, right? Because I've walked into certain GameStops where I, even when I was working for the company, they didn't know I worked for GameStop, and they wouldn't say anything to you, right? But then when we were at the location we were at, you walk in and we're going to be kind to you, and if you give off the vibe that you don't want to talk to us, like, we'll kind of check on you in a little bit just to make sure, like, hey, we're keeping tabs on you because we want to make sure you're taken care of.
Right.
So I think it's a mix of being able to speak with other people, but also the ability to understand, like, the power of, like, being genuine in interaction. Like, I went on to work in education, and that has helped me so much with, like, the young people I work with, to be able to like, transcend different, maybe, lines that, I couldn't.
Right.
And I think working at, like, a GameStop,
oh my gosh, that was like all that we did is figuring out how to cross into the worlds of these people that come in the store.
Yeah, we had to, like, get an invitation, right? And I think that's the biggest challenge, and that's hard to teach. Like, when you think about not just GameStop but retail.
Yeah.
Like, when someone walks in the door, they automatically don't want to say to you.
Yeah.
They think they don't.
Yeah.
Because we're so programmed, like, as in American society, like, leave me the alone. So I mean, like, for all of us that worked at these locations to be able to genuinely dismantle that wall, and it didn't always work, but we were pretty damn good at getting people to talk with us about stuff.
About things, yeah.
Oh, yeah. And I think, that's something that I use to this day. Like, anybody I interact with, like, it's being able to start a conversation, and even if I do have a secret intention behind said conversation, which, let's be real, you work at a retail store.
Right.
You have an intention to sell stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? But there's a way to do so tactfully, and there's a way to do so with integrity. And I think that's something I learned, and I don't know if GameStop taught me that, or if, like, they taught me some things and I adopted it into, like, what I believe. I don't know. But it wasn't just me. It was, like, the people we worked with, other managers. I had a lot of great mentors with the company who were really good at what they did.
Yeah. That's funny to hear that point of view, reaching the objective of making sales with integrity and that sort of thing. Because if you've listened to our last episode or two when we had Cricket on, he seems to relish a little bit more so the pure sales side of GameStop. Integrity be damned. So some of the stories that we got from Cricket was you wouldn't be wrong if you thought we were talking to a used car salesman. But that's the thing with Cricket is he loved that. He loved the challenge of it. And you know what it was?
That's why I hired that guy.
That's exactly why he was.
That's
exactly why he was around. And you know what it reminded me of is it reminded me of the old school competitiveness that I don't remember being so prevalent towards the end time that I was around, but that old school competitiveness that you used to see in the early days of GameStop.
Oh yeah. Well, we were competitive. I mean, right?
We were
like those quiet competitors,
Yeah, that's true.
We were just
silent assassins.
I think what it was is Cricket seemed to convey a sense of simple competitiveness because back in the old school GameStop days, it was reservations and it was pro cards. And that was it. And you got so competitive with those things. Whereas now there's so many different categories to fill. And it's like you can get competitive, but in which area? Because you can win in this area, but I'm going to win in this other area. Yeah. And back then, you lived and died by your reses and your cards.
You did. And then that's when, you had to learn how to be a salesman or woman. Right?
Yeah, right.
Most of the people that would get hired on, I think you guys touched on this in an older podcast, but you don't come into this being, hey, I worked at the Ford dealership and, I'm here to sell some Call of Duty.
It was kids coming in and not knowing what they're doing.
Yeah, or, you were selling to people significant others. You were selling to gift givers. You were selling to
kids,
teens.
That's one of Cricket's, I think, best stories.
College.
Is when he would sell to children. And get children to buy things that they probably weren't even knowingly buying from him, but that was a badge of honor for
well, whatever gets you going, right? I think I never thought of myself as a salesperson, but when you learn how to articulate the things that you want and that you think people should want, then you can be a salesperson.
Right.
You know, like I think I used to preach to you guys as a team, like planting the seed, and then like tricking them into think it's their own idea, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like you're duping somebody.
Yeah.
Because you're playing off the concept of something that they wanted,
Right.
to begin with. Like, I'm not going to sell, and maybe Cricket did do this to somebody, but and I was off shift or something, but I'm not going to sell some kid who walked in, I don't know, Resident Evil, and he can't even read.
Or sell him a res for a game he doesn't even know.
Which
what
has
that game
happened
is.
at stores I've managed, but there are stores that were willing to do that.
Yeah.
And there are managers that are willing to do that, and nothing against those people. But I think our staff really cared about being prideful about the work we did.
We wanted to do things a little differently.
Yeah. And you already kind of came with the guilt working at GameStop, right? Or your gamer friends already kind of gave you crap, like, oh, you work for the evil empire?
Exactly.
It's like, shout out to my folks who work for EA. I'm sure you get that all the time.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
Yep.
you kind of get that already, so you want to do it in a way that you're doing a good job, and you're doing right by people, and damn other folks that are looking from the outside in if they know that or not. And that's a shout out to the people still in the fight. Like, GameStop people are really misunderstood in the fact that there are a lot of good people that work for the company, worked for the company.
Yeah.
And you get muddled in.
Yeah, yeah. Everyone kind of gets thrown into.
Yeah, you get tossed into the pot, and maybe they deserve it. Maybe we did deserve it. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, I don't really.
Well, when you hear Cricket stories,
yeah, maybe if it's stuff like that's happening.
That's funny. But I mean, Cricket. We brought him aboard, so I think when he understood the game intimately, I don't think that he could have envisioned doing it any other way, because that's how he found his motivation.
Yeah.
Living that life a bit. So.
Yeah.
But I would say that the thing about Cricket too, though, is that he wasn't like aggressive.
No.
And he wasn't pushy
none
into
of the
it.
staff there.
Yeah, exactly.
None of
but that's what like when you're comparing it to like other people who are like really like sales oriented.
And you've seen
Cricket
those.
was good because he was very natural.
Right.
And and he wasn't aggressive, but he was assertive, not aggressive. It's not the same thing.
Not aggressive. Yeah, that's a good distinction. Yeah. Quite an experience working with that guy. And I'm hoping maybe one of these shows will get both of you on.
Yeah, it'd be fun. It'd be fun. He could tell a different version. I'd be like, I didn't know that was happening. But, hey, you did it with integrity, so I guess it's cool.
With integrity, as all of us.
Cool.
As long as you respected your customers, right?
Yeah, which he always did. And I mean, that kind of brings us to the next, I guess, topic of conversation is the customer base that we worked with. Cricket, for as efficient as he was hitting the bottom line for the store and for the company, he made some really really big fans of his working. I think he was able to find this nice balance of getting on the customer side but meeting those numbers that had to be met. So I mean, speaking of customers, 11 years working there, I'm sure you saw all manner of folks come through that door, huh?
Yeah, you see the renters, the people that they knew the 7-day trial. Those of y'all that are not familiar, you buy a used game, you try it out for 7 days, and if you didn't like it, you could bring it back, and then you'd get those people that apparently didn't like any game. And apparently never heard of Redbox or Blockbuster back in the day, or GameFly or any of those, so they would use us as that one-stop shop.
Oh, I remember
and
that.
they would always be so remorseful while they did it.
Yeah.
And life's bigger than where some people get so caught up in the GameStop life when you're there.
Yeah.
I would never fault any of those folks for it. I know bottom line numbers mattered, but hey, if you're on a budget, you're having a hard life and you just need something to do, But then after a while, when you see too many folks. This reminds me of this specific customer. It was during the holiday rush, like October, November. It was still at our prime location. And this guy comes in, and he basically admits that he's trying to take advantage of some policy to sell something for more, but to not follow the rules. So he basically admits it to me and asks me if I'll do it. And I tell him no. Right? And so I'm like, no. I'm like, no. I mean, it can't do that, man. Like, and I've never seen this guy in my life. And so he's like, hey, can we do this and do that? It's like, yeah, more money, cash, because we trade for trading credit and cash.
Yeah.
So I told him no. Then he's like, fine, I'll just trade it for trading credit. And after that, I'm like, no, man, because you're going to come in and do exactly what you told me when I'm not here. So I told him, man, you're going to just have to go to another store. Yeah, this dude goes ballistic. He's like, don't make me do this. Don't make me flip over your stand on my way out. And there's a line of like 6 or 7 people behind him. Mm-hmm. Like the other associate, she's with somebody at the same time. It's only me and her working. And he keeps like saying, don't make me do it. I'm like, I'm not making you do anything. I'm just asking you to do your transaction in another store because I know you're going to break the rules here.
Yeah.
And I'm doing it respectfully. And he kind of goes off on both of us. And then on his way out, pushes over the rack, throws a bunch of stuff around, and then walks out. And he says something to me and the girl working at the time. And then the coolest thing happened, and this is a testament to our customer base. Mm-hmm. Every single customer in that line, you know what they did? They ran over to that rack, they put everything back the way it was, and they got back in line.
Wow, no way.
They got back in line.
Very nice.
Right? And that's like a testament to the customer base that like people like Cricket, you guys like built up, right? Like you have such a rapport with the people that shop at your store that they see you getting abused by another customer and they decide like, you know what? That fool's being crazy. And later, the guy called back and apologized to the associate who was working with me. He apologized to her, and I think he realized like he was being crazy.
Yeah.
But you see it all. I mean, there's other stories that kind of are salient, but that.
Wow, that one sticks out, huh?
Yeah, it sticks out because it's the customers, right?
It's
like
the
it's the people.
Story.
Yeah, it's the people, and like when you're good to people, people that still work at GameStop, take note of this. When you're good to your customers, whether they're looking, whether they're buying something, whether they're just there to chat, they're going to be good to you.
Yeah.
And that's just like in life.
Yeah.
Any industry.
Any industry, you'll see that.
Yeah. Like people will be good to you if you're good to them, depending on the context, and maybe not so much in business, but dog eat dog.
Sometimes.
Yeah. Well, just that. I mean, that goes into a whole different facet of business.
Yeah. That's a different thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the point is, regardless of if you see it come back to you, that's where it starts. It can't start unless you do that. You know, like you're not setting the precedent for kindness unless you're doing it yourself. You know.
Yeah.
So. That's a story that you see all facets of customer.
Yeah, and they were so cool about it.
Yeah.
Every customer that came up to the register was like, "Hey, man, sorry that happened to you guys. Like, I know you guys are just doing your job." We're like, "No, it's good. It's good. It's a part of it."
Yeah. Wow. I know our location that we were at all together, we'd see quite a different, various customer segments because we were kind of in a position where we had. Rich people to the left and not so rich people to the right. And we were at a very interesting subsection of different. Yeah,
it was
groups.
near like public transportation, so people could hop off like whatever that train was.
Yeah.
Come and
we had multi-million-dollar homes.
Yeah.
Just
you'd have like
just
former and current like sports players come in, and you just kind of knew they were, and they would say it because they were huge. Like, dude, who's this tall guy? Like, he's about to buy like 2 Xboxes. Why do you need 2?
Exactly.
Well, I guess, yeah. But you get, and that I think also was a benefit to the people that worked at our store. We got to just get a different look at different types of people, and when you're steeped in that gaming culture, something that I've always thought about gamers is that sometimes you get so exclusive into your community. Mm-hmm. And, we were very fortunate, all of us that worked there, that, like, we worked at a place where, like, it wasn't just the hardcore gamers coming in. Mm-hmm. Like, our customer base was just everyone.
Everyone.
Totally.
It was 100% everyone.
Just people. It was just people of all walks of life that just, needed entertainment. And, you gain different kind of skills talking with different types of people.
Yeah. That goes back to the skill you kind of take away. You really learn what appeals to all sorts of different folks, and you find that common ground to talk about.
And it's usually well, we're very fortunate. We worked in a video game store, so we already had the common ground built, right?
Yeah, right.
And if it was someone who was shopping, say, as a gift, like, then you at least were speaking the language that they didn't understand, but you were able to what's the word I'm looking for? Translate it.
Translated,
right?
yeah. We were translators in those
Yeah.
instances.
Like, I don't know how many moms during the Wii craze were hunting down Wiis for their kids during Christmas. I got a couple of genuine hugs because I would go above and beyond, to get them a Wii. Moms would be hugging me. You made my child's Christmas. I'm like, I'm pretty sure their Christmas would be fine. They didn't have the Wii, but I appreciate. I get the sentiment. You're just trying to do something good for your family.
Yeah. Oh man, all the mom hugs that Level Up has had over the years.
Yeah.
Innumerable.
Yeah.
Level Up was the Saint Nicholas for these mothers.
But though, like I would say that with our time at that store, and even just my time at different stores, like customers will gravitate to your point about cricket. Like customers will have like a favorite.
Yeah, they do.
They have a favorite, and they would walk in and ask you like, "Hey, is whatchamacallit working?" And you'd be like, "What about me, man?"
Yeah, exactly.
What about me? Like, we haven't had good times.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't sit there for hours talking to you about Dark Souls, even though I never played it in my life, but you wanted to talk about it, and I just listened to you because it was 1 p.m.
Yeah, exactly.
Middle of the day. I didn't know where to go. I work here. Like I was prisoner.
That was funny, man. That's funny.
You guys have had that before, right?
That
Oh yeah,
is
of course.
funny. You get that all the time.
I'm not saying I didn't like that. I liked it. But man, some gamers want to talk about stuff you don't know anything
Oh
about.
yeah.
And we all had our own. I think we all had our own, kind of niches.
Yeah.
Where I don't know about this, but let me pull over Level Up.
Yeah,
real
let me
quick.
ask Cash Travel.
He plays those games.
Yeah.
So.
Well, man, that's why I used to read like Game Informer
Yeah.
cover to cover.
Cover to cover.
I swear, I used to be my market research.
Yeah.
And that's how I got us sent to E3. Remember I used to
Yeah.
go to E3 every year?
You used to go to E3 every year.
Market research.
Market research was. I remember calling from that E3, getting our consoles on pre-order the very same day
Yep.
that they were announced too.
Yeah, good times.
That was legit, man. But yeah, I mean, 11 years at a store. Obviously you opened the store that we were at.
Mm-hmm.
You moved on, I think at 5-6 years after that store was open, however long it was, to go fix. I think you were known as the fixer at that point because you.
I guess. I don't know how much I fixed at that store.
I was gonna bring that up. Just like so how was the transition to that?
Yeah,
other
what's
store?
it like? I mean,
Yeah.
not calling out. I mean, you could call out specific stores without naming those specific stores, but what was it like to kind of go in? After being settled. I mean, we were settled in our store for a long time.
Yeah, there's like it's you work somewhere so long, and maybe people that are listening can relate to this, but you work somewhere so long that you kind of start to take for granted like your success, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or it becomes something natural.
Right.
And then you go somewhere, whether you're working for a different company or in this case a different store, or maybe a different industry if you're changing industries. And you realize, like, Jesus, this is not what I'm used to.
Yeah.
And then you look back over your shoulder, and you're like, wow, they're still doing great.
Oh, no.
Like, what I remember was going to
no.
conference. So managers would go to a conference every year. It was a GameStop conference. And we'd all huddle around, talk about the new initiatives, talk about, like, rankings and how people did, and celebrate wins. And, one of my bucket list goals was to try to go to conference and win something at conference for my district or my region or something.
Yeah.
It's one I didn't get to.
Yeah.
But the year that I transferred, that store that we all started at, the manager who took over after me got an award. But she wasn't there the whole year.
Right. I remember that. I remember you and I talked about that.
I just felt
actually.
so
I remember talking
sad.
about this with you.
I was sad. I was like, man, we were building towards that. This is one of my bucket list items.
1 year that,
couple months I stepped away, and then there it was. But not to take away from her success or anyone else's success. That's well deserved. But that was an aspect of leaving.
Mm-hmm.
And then like you go back to working where you're at the store you're trying to fix, and you're like, man, this is a piece of work.
Yeah.
Like, for some context, the store that I had left from with these guys, the store that I left to go work at, the prior management was stealing like thousands of dollars of like money, inventory, and they had people in the company and I guess a bank teller outside the company like in on them doing this shady business. So I come in and there's just so much to fix and so many problems, and it really sucked the joy out of my job the last year or so,
Yeah.
because that was like the last year or so I worked for the company. Like I didn't enjoy the job as much, you know,
Yeah,
after you've been doing it for so long.
And you had settled into a nice rhythm at the new store,
Yeah.
and you know,
I like the
everything
customer
was
base.
the
Yeah.
events we threw.
But I mean, I think I told you. I mean, I really did step away from that because I was hoping that you would take.
Yeah,
I was hoping you were going to take the spot. That was my my legacy idea was like, cash wrap. You'll
would step into that.
yeah,
and then
like I'll
we
step
would-
away. I'll give him my good word, and then
Exactly.
the legacy will continue, and it still did through
It did.
the team that was
Through
there.
the team that went there eventually. Yeah,
it
it
still
still
continued.
did.
But
Yeah.
so
Cash Rat threw a wrench in that plan when he demoted himself.
Yeah, when
yeah. But it's
I didn't tell LevelUp that, but
Okay,
that
well-
is what happened.
Yeah.
At the time, I didn't tell him that.
Well, I was gonna say, I feel like, I still keep in touch with a lot of former and current employees, and I
Yeah.
feel like a lot of the times, they have this plan for someone else to take over, but it's a lot more work to push for that person to get promoted because
Right.
it seems like district would want someone outside,
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
someone brand new,
Right.
and it's just like, come on,
Yeah.
like why not?
Yeah. Well, I think in this case, I think it was like when I think about your development when you were working for me, I don't think we really thought about like the politics.
Mm-mm.
And I didn't really talk with the politics with any of my staff. Like I kind of kept the politics. Like I was kind of the delegate.
Shielded from that.
I was kind of the delegate, and I didn't really distribute that responsibility out. So that maybe in hindsight, like looking back, maybe that was something that I could have improved on as a manager, like exposing my people more to like district politics, so that when it comes down to it, you know this person's name, you know what they're about, you've heard them on a conference call because I had them go on it for me,
Right.
by policy because I wanted them to grow in that way,
Right.
right? Like,
Right. Yeah.
So
yeah.
there's stuff you look back and but it worked out, right?
It worked out. It all works out in the end.
fine.
It all comes full circle.
Yeah.
Circle of life.
Yeah.
Remember.
Yeah, circle of life.
Just remember, circle of life.
Yeah.
Not Lion King.
Yeah, not the Lion King.
Not the
circle of
Lion
life.
King circle of life. No, we're talking trades. We're
Yeah.
talking
Not
new
the
games.
Beyonce version.
Not that version. No.
Yeah, it's not as sexy as that.
No,
It's
we're
not.
not. Did you see that, by the way?
No, I have not yet.
Me neither.
Yeah,
I
and
don't-
here's just the same exact movie.
I
so
know,
I'm
like-
gonna wait for a $2 Tuesday or something.
Yeah, I'm wait for
$2
wait for Redbox.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. No, wait. I'm sure it's breathtaking. And hopefully, no one is offended by my Beyonce comment. I love Beyonce.
Yeah,
So,
we're all part of the Bayhive here.
Yeah.
So,
I actually don't know what you're talking about.
it's okay. It's okay.
okay.
You're an inaugural member
That's
of the
fine.
Bayhive. Yeah, so yeah, that's actually a good segue into something that I wanted to ask you too. And I of course now that I want to ask it, I forget what it is. So, it was shoot. Why can't I remember what it is? You just said what it is. Okay. Well, moving on. 11 years, quite an impressive feat.
You said that a few times now. I think you're just stalling. What are you trying to remember?
I'm really trying to remember.
we
what
were
this
talking
question
about
is.
like politics and moving up.
Yes, that's what
Something
it is.
like that.
Yes, you totally reminded me
something
of
like
it.
that.
Yes.
Don't forget this time.
11 years there. 11 years there. You look back at that tenure, all the things that you've been involved with. What are some things that you wish you would have done different? And I know you did mention the politics and bringing your team, more transparency around that sort of thing. But I mean, looking back around the entirety of your tenure there, I mean, what are some things that you kind of look back and think like, what are some other things you think back and?
I mean, I think the only really salient thing that comes to mind is like I always, when I got the job at GameStop in 2004, I was just chatting with the manager of a local GameStop near my community college, and he's like, "Why haven't you applied?" And I always kind of kept my idea around the job about just using it to get me to whatever that next thing was, right? Paying my way through college, helping me move out, helping me buy a car, helping me hit all these milestones, which I'm forever grateful for GameStop for, right? Like, that's why I still shop there. Like, but the thing I don't know if I regret it, but sometimes I wonder how my development could have changed if I didn't look at it as like a side thing. Like, even though I put a lot of energy in it, maybe you guys, if you worked under me or you shopped at my store, maybe you can tell. But I mean, Cash App could talk about this. Like, I was doing a lot of different things when I was working at GameStop, but like at the same time, And I wonder how my development could have changed professionally if I just put more energy and focus, at least like in my personal opinion, on just like developing as a manager, developing as a person who cultivates and trains other people. But other than that, like regrets though, like small and big ones, like I wish I didn't buy as many used games that I didn't play. For folks that have never worked at a GameStop, when you're there and someone sells something that you think you want, and you just on the spur of the moment buy it, you accumulate a lot of crap that you don't use. You guys could probably agree, right? You just, ooh, that looks cool, I'll buy it, right?
Yeah, there was a lot of money from our paychecks going back into the store.
Yeah, going back in the store. So that, not really a regret, but as a young person it made sense, but as an older guy I'm like, geez, you know, I never played that game.
It was just cool to have that though.
I'm like, I'm really cheap. I'm still really cheap, so I was very careful about what I bought.
About what you bought.
Even with the discount.
So you're able to avoid that. I would just be like, oh, here it is.
Oh, I wouldn't say I avoided that. I still bought a lot.
LevelUp and I fell for that a lot.
Yeah, you're like, ooh, that person trading in this copy of whatever limited edition. I never thought I wanted to play this game.
And now I do. And then you never did.
And I never did. And then here it is, getting sold back to the store or whatever. But yeah, I don't really have a whole lot of real regrets. I mean, I really enjoyed my time there, and I think this is for folks who maybe have worked at GameStop or who work there. Like and you guys could probably test this, but it is what you make it, right? Like I could look back on my time and think like, wow, that was a terrible 10 or 11 years. Or I could look back at it and think like, man, I learned some stuff. I met some good people. I got to work with something that I really love. Yeah, there was politics. Yeah, there were sales goals. Yeah, there were things that were maybe not perfect, but I don't regret having to do those things. Like, so not really too many regrets, but
yeah, that's good. That's quite an accomplishment. 11 years and minimal regrets is That's when you can tell it was a good experience.
Well, we actually just touched into it a little bit, so I actually thought I would ask. What do you think about the type of employees that people hire, like between someone who, like, you know, you want to hire someone who knows all about games, or you want to know someone who doesn't really know about games but wants to sell? Because, you know, people talk about a lot of times you walk into a GameStop and there's someone there who doesn't know anything about games. Like you ask them a question, or on the other extreme, you walk in and they treat you like they're very condescending. Like, oh, I know all about games. Much, yeah. So, like, what is your opinion on that?
That's my philosophy or my opinion on like. Well, I mean, I've told you guys this in the past, and I think with Cash Wrap we've talked a lot about this when we were a management duo, a team, and like a big thing for me, it's like. You can learn about games.
Yeah.
You can pick up a Game Informer. You can nowadays. You go on IGN. You can go on
so many reasons.
Whatever website you want. You can follow on Twitter. You can
be on Wikipedia.
Yeah.
right. We didn't have that back then.
Let's
but you
plays.
Can do that.
Let's plays.
Yeah. You can watch Let's Plays and like complete a whole game. Like you could lie and say you beat God of War and just watch the whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. So you could get that like gamer content, the gamer knowledge, and I could teach. You could always teach somebody how to use a cash register. You could teach somebody how to interact and do a sale a certain way. But you just really can't teach somebody how to be like a good person.
Kind and attentive.
Personality matters a lot.
Yeah.
Like personality matters a lot. So I think when I was hiring, and I mean, Cash Wrap could speak to this, and you could speak to this too because you were in there like shopping.
I was a shopper,
right? So you would see the people we'd hired. Maybe you'd see somebody and be like, "What the hell is this person?" Which I'm sure I had those people I've hired, but like,
occasionally,
you know, not everyone's going to work out. But if you hire someone who's willing to learn, who's willing to put the work in, and honestly, it's just nice. And if they're willing, I think you'll be all right. I think you'll be all right. But you have to also put the pressure. Because that's something I see when I go to GameStops now. It's like, I know that the company's gone in a different direction, so it's not like what you were saying before where, you know, reservations, the membership or whatever is all the driving force. But that doesn't mean that someone shouldn't be assertive in asking to support you in like your decisions in shopping. So I think that it's a mix of having the right people who have that element that you can't teach, like just a spark, but also having a management team that applies, I don't want to say pressure, but like has the guidance to lead that team to have the habits, you know, to incite like the results that you want, whether it's like sales numbers or if you just want people to like the people in your store.
Yeah.
Which I think elicits sales.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like if people like who you are, they're gonna want to support you.
Yeah.
I mean, I watched the streaming revolution with people streaming, and people will just give them money
Just pop up,
just for
pop
being them.
up. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
one thing a game that I would have never, I would have never
envisioned. Yeah.
Like streaming is not something I thought would ever take off.
I mean, that's kind of the antithesis of gaming. It's
Just watching
solitary.
someone else game,
Yeah.
and then talking with it.
isn't that like the cause of so many arguments growing up? Hey, you're playing too
Screen
long.
watching.
Let me play now. You're hogging the controller.
Yeah,
Let me play.
I want to watch you play.
No, people want to see people hog the controller.
And I
It's crazy.
actually because I've started streaming. I started streaming years ago, but I actually find it very ironic because you meet a lot of people who are just like, I'm watching someone play because I don't have time to play, and I'm just like, but you have the time to watch someone play. I'm like,
It's funny.
Yeah, you could have just been playing, but I think there's like a community aspect to it, right?
Yeah,
I think
yeah. I mean, there's a few other things like you can, if you're watching someone who knows what he's doing, then
You can
just-
learn something.
You either learn
that
something
too.
or they're going through much quicker,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Than you would if you're just trying to sit there figure it out. And on top of that, when you're playing, usually you pause, you come back. There's no
Right.
progress when you
No
come
progress,
back. Whereas you can,
This is
Yeah, that's-
continual.
yeah.
I think it's just the sheer entertainment. I mean,
Yeah,
these
there's
are,
entertainment.
These are
And they're
personal-
funny people, too,
Funny,
yeah, funny,
These are
engaging.
these are personalities that gamers connect with versus
Yeah.
watching a sports show or whatever
Yeah,
it may be.
and it's
you know?
harder for gamer folks to just go outside and meet another
Yeah.
gamer folk.
Yeah,
You know, like,
yeah.
you
That's
know,
not
you go to
quite
a sports
something-
bar and you're like, hey, bro, you like the...
Yeah, you like my team.
Yeah, you like them, right? Oh, me too.
Cool. Let's have a beer together.
Yeah,
now we're friends.
We're friends. Oh, you went to that school, though? Oh, now we're enemies. You know?
Yeah.
It's not like that with
Yeah.
gamers.
No.
And it is and it isn't, right?
yeah.
It
Well,
is and
we're
it isn't.
seeing it. We're seeing it with our gamer centric lounges and bars now, which is
Yeah.
interesting. I know you just said you
Yeah, I just
went to one recently.
Yeah, it was just
And,
that one, and I thought that was cool.
Yeah.
It's all about building community,
Mm-hmm.
which is going back to that earlier discussion point about GameStop trying to reimagine.
Right.
I think when we were working at our location, that was what we cared about, experience. You walk in a store, you put yourself in the customer's shoes.
Mm-hmm.
Did you enjoy what you just went through?
Right.
If you didn't, which is, I think, the larger case in most retail stores in general, that's why, Amazon and these companies capitalized, the sales are going to go down.
Right.
It's got to be something, right? It's got to
Yeah.
be something.
And I think for us too, because we were at a location that had so many competitors in our same shopping center, like we needed to find something to set ourselves apart,
Yeah.
and that was who we were. And we said that all the time. I know you probably remember LevelUp, and you too, Tradehold. You probably remember this as well. We always reminded each other why people come in our door, and they're coming for us.
We had pride in it, too.
Yeah, it was. It
Like,
definitely
went to
was.
Target or Best Buy,
Yeah.
and then you came all the way over here and stood in this line.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just because at our Call of Duty event, we had the what was that one event where we had the grenade toss?
The grenade
There was these
toss.
styrofoam
I had to go
grenades,
get
and we
those
set up this
stupid
like
Nerf guns.
fictional like war air zone. And we had these little tires, and it's like, if you can throw grenades in here, we'll give you a prize.
You get a prize.
And people loved it, right?
They were
Because
such
it was
big
It's fun,
experience.
yeah,
it
it
was
is.
an experience,
Yeah,
right? Or we
yeah.
had the LA Noir release,
Oh, gosh.
where we were all
That
suspects in a
one-
case.
That one will
I missed that
continually-
one.
You missed that one.
I wanted
Hands
to.
down, all time.
And then we
wanted
all
to do
had
that,
our
yeah.
own little dockets with our descriptions of who we were.
Handed out the folders to each customer who
That
was
came.
a detective for the night.
Yeah, and then we had somebody had to figure out who, what, and that's the type of stuff I think like that's what separates your store wherever you work.
Mhm.
Like, and I know most retail stores can't do something like this, but I think of like fancy stores like what is it, Nordstrom? They do the little nights for the people that have memberships.
Oh yeah,
They have like little wine nights,
right.
And they have
Little
music,
wine nights.
and
That's right.
They make you feel all like, oh, you're important somehow.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that's what you need in
That's
retail, I
what it
think, to
is.
compete.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's like
Yeah,
one
that's
with the
true.
things I was excited about was because you guys had all these launch events, and I was just like, oh man, I love doing those things because the game store I used to work at, I was like, yeah, we totally would want to do something like that. It's just,
Mhm.
and then when I got in, it was just like when District was like, oh, we're not going to give you the funding for some
Yeah.
of this, and it's just like, oh, well.
I mean, to be honest, it's not like we had funding.
Yeah, I know.
We didn't have a lot.
Yeah, we just, a lot of it was, I mean, I didn't
Self-funded.
tell, it was like self.
Yeah.
I just come out of my pocket
Yeah.
for a couple bucks.
You would.
Yeah.
I remember
I
that.
would just be like, you know,
You'd have to buy the
And that's-
prize or something.
yeah,
That's
the
a-
prizes you just accumulate from the freebies if you got any, or
And that's a lot of what I think a lot of game stores that wanted to do are
Mhm.
doing it. It's out of pocket.
It's out of pocket.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because corporate was, or district, or just like, no.
Yeah. We're not paying for that.
well, now they're paying a whole company to tell them probably what we're talking about.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
It's funny.
I know,
it's
right?
funny.
So
Yeah.
they have events that are.
This might be
Special.
familiar for the GameStop, people who are listening right now.
Yeah.
If they're telling you to do this, it comes full circle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Circle of life, again.
Circle of life.
I would have to say, though, I hope it's not something that's just like, okay, let's say, like, an example with the LA Noir. All right, this is LA Noir's new, releasing.
Mhm.
All stores do this. Because then
Right.
it loses
It's not-
its
yeah, it's not
uniqueness.
special, no,
Yeah.
It's not special.
It's not, yeah. So hopefully it's not something that,
That
Yeah.
like telegraphed.
Yeah,
that,
exactly,
Like
exactly.
This is
choreographed
how you
or-
create this event.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's got to be a certain level of freedom allotted to the store team
Yeah.
to
And
create.
I think that's what made GameStop special, and it's like Prime. Not saying it's not in its Prime anymore, but I mean,
Come on now.
I would say, you would go to a store and you guys talked about this in one of the other episodes, but you have different personalities.
Mm-hmm.
You get different flavors. You go to one GameStop, you get vanilla. You go to another GameStop, you get Rocky Road.
Right,
Mhm.
right. Yeah.
And then that Rocky Road flavor, he might transfer, or she might transfer over to where all they have is gelato,
yeah.
and they speak a different language. Like, and then you're just doing what you could do, right? Like,
yeah.
But
That experience of
That's what made-
shifting
that's what made it
cultures
special.
and- yeah.
during that time, and GameStop back then attracted a lot of really quality hires too, because it was like
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
the
It was-
only
It's like the premier place to work,
if you
back
were into
then.
games.
If
Yeah.
you were into games, you were
Now
trying
it's
to
like,
get
let
in
me
there.
become a streamer.
Yeah, yeah. No one
That's
wants.
like the
that's the
like
thing to do
now
now.
for a gamer.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. How funny
Well,
it
yeah,
changes.
but I think they'll probably talk about this too, the type of people to hire, because like I just mentioned, there's always the two extremes, and it really comes down to that personality, because almost everything else can be taught.
Yeah.
I've worked with people who are too much into games, and so when they come in, it's not even the condescending part. It might not be condescending. It might just be like they spend more time wanting the discounts and wanting to buy the games as opposed to selling.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so sometimes you get people who don't know anything about most of games. They just want to either be retail, or they just want a job or something like that. And that can be a good thing on its own too,
Yeah.
because then they're focused on learning things.
Mm-hmm.
So there should be a balance. Shouldn't be one or the other, and definitely should be more screening of the type of personality you want in your store.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, and the team you're trying to put together. Right?
exactly. Yeah.
I mean, I think we all, the teams where you're a part of, the different teams, you had, kind of like the Avengers. You had somebody who could do this, and you had somebody who could do that.
Yeah.
You're not going to ask Black Widow to pick up Thor's hammer.
Yeah,
It's not
exactly.
happening, right?
We had different
It's not happening.
specializations.
Just like certain employees that I've had, like, you're not going to sell that many memberships.
Right.
But you are going to process that trade, and that,
yeah.
and that
We
counter is going to
will-
be clear when you work, right? And that's-
Exactly.
So you just have to be aware of, like, who's on your team. And this, I think, translates to any industry.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Totally.
You just have to just have the right team, and you're only as strong as your weakest person, right? So if someone's really weak at something, you better have someone who's super strong.
Yeah,
Mhm,
yeah.
mhm.
You better have a Hulk.
Yeah.
I was gonna say it's a complementary team too, because there's so many genre of games that sometimes people would just specialize in a certain type.
Yeah.
It was really sad when there would be a store, and this, I'm sure this happens even now, where everyone at the store plays like one kind of game.
Yeah.
I've worked alongside folks who are just like Call of Duty store. That's all they play, and you're like, man, your customers don't have nothing to talk about.
Yeah, seriously.
But just Call of Duty.
But you can capitalize on that if you're good at events.
Yeah, no, for sure.
That's
for sure,
true.
for sure.
True.
You can maybe create your own
Some-
league and everything, but
some way
it's
to-
just something you got to think about.
Yeah, you got to leverage
Um,
what you got.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's true. Very true.
All right. Well.
Well, this has been a treat.
Yeah, it's
This has been-
fun.
This has been quite an episode for us and for our listeners.
It's a little different than what we normally do.
It is. It's a little
But I like
different.
it, you know?
More conversational. But I think when you have someone who's been with GameStop for
11 years.
For 11 years.
What's
Quite a feat.
what's the number
Quite a
again? Can you please remind me what the number is again? Oh, that's right. 11 years. 11 years. Yeah. Someone who's been with the company for 11 years. I mean, there's a lot. There's a lot to share. There's definitely a lot that we didn't get to. So I'm hoping we're going to have LevelUp back. Yeah, preferably with Cricket, so we can have some really good banter.
And with Distro.
And with Distro once he returns.
And we definitely want to have a time where we can just talk about games as opposed to work.
Yeah, as opposed to to get back to why we do this, which is for the games.
Yeah.
So, I think in closing, and shouldn't take too much time, but looking back at your 11 years with GameStop. We have listeners who are working there now. We have former employees, of course. We have folks who don't have any idea what it's like to work for GameStop. But I'd like to hear. This is actually one of the things you were good at. Among the many things you were good at, one of the things I really remember, you were good at giving speeches. You were good at motivating the troops to hit that
speeches.
Launch release speeches in the back room before we hit the floor, before we open the doors.
Black Friday speeches,
holiday tax time speeches, whatever it was.
Oh, man.
You were good at it. Give us something to leave our listeners with. The current employees, the former employees, those who are in the trenches now, those who are, remember going through that. From an 11-year perspective.
It's a heavy role for the entirety of the GameStop community. All of you out there just feel like I'm, what's it, that Argentina movie? I would be on the balcony. Pray for me, Argentina.
Yeah,
I don't know.
He stepped out.
No, but
this is our Evita here.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really have like some super fancy pants speech, but the one thing I can say that I think helped me stay strong through the 11 years, and I think helped our team stay strong, is just like whatever it is I think you're doing, whatever it is you're doing for folks that are still working with the company or that transition on, I think you just got to really hold that tight. You got to really keep that center in your life. Like, it's really easy to lose track of like why you do the things you do every day, and mental health is a huge thing too. But taking care of yourself, loving yourself, but also reminding yourself every day when you show up to work, like, why are you doing the things you're doing? Because I think when we were at a store together, I think that's really what helped us center around like the values that we really stood by. Everybody had their reason to be there, whether it was big or small. And I think that we were good at remembering that and reminding ourselves, like, you know what, like, here I am walking into my 7th shift today. Someone keeps calling out.
Yeah.
But I just got to do this for the team. Mm-hmm. I got a new district manager. He doesn't understand. She doesn't understand. But if you can center like why it is you show up to work every day, like, you make it through. But you don't just, I think, make it through. You also work with like a certain quality, and I think that's what we prided ourselves on when we were a staff. And I think that even now to this day, like when I went off and did whatever I'm doing now, I can still hang my hat on,
Mm-hmm.
like it's, and if you don't have that reason, for my folks out there, like if you don't have a reason why you get up, you don't have a reason why you're doing this job, it's like really looking for it. And I know it's cliche, but it matters, like I think there's a certain gravitas when you're searching for that thing, because people live their whole lives looking for the thing.
Mm-hmm.
And when you find it, or if you see someone who's found it and you kind of learn from them, which I did in my life, it's like a domino effect. Things start to happen, and then all of a sudden you got the promotion, and all of a sudden you got in the program you want to get into. You got into the doctorate, program, or whatever it may be, or you got that job, or you landed that date with that guy or that girl, right? Like, I think intention is so important. Mm-hmm. So the only advice I can offer the folks out there is, whatever you do, find a reason to do it. Do it with intention. Do it with integrity, and all the other things around they fall into place. Like, life finds a way, and don't fool yourself when it gets hard that like life hates you, because I used to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just because you have a bad day, just because you have a bad year, doesn't mean your whole life is trash.
Mm-hmm.
It's easy to start thinking that. That's all I got to say.
That's 11 years of experience there, ladies and gentlemen.
Quite a feat. Quite a feat.
Quite a feat. Quite a feat. This has been Closing Staff.
Yep. Now,
Where it's time to close up the shutters. If you remember grabbing the pole, closing the shutters up.
We're not going to run back for the alarm this time.
Yeah. We hope you enjoyed listening to us. We enjoyed your company. Now get out of our store.
Yeah. No, we're not helping any more customers. Get out, please.
Go back tomorrow with your trade.
All right. And we're done.